Hello, I am kicking off September with a solo episode. I'm excited because September is Emergency Preparedness Month. So I'm going to talk to you about 7 areas to tackle. So stay tuned for those details from your pantry to your essential items to your clothing and much more. Hello and welcome to Got Clutter, Get Organized, the conversation. I am excited to be here, as I always am, but this month in particular, because it's September. For one, it's my birthday month, but also it is Emergency Preparedness Month. I wanted to come to you just having a conversation about some of the things you need to think about in regards to the what if. What if something happens? What if there's a hurricane or tornado that comes through? What if there's a health crisis or any other emergency within your home and in your life? How you can be prepared, which is really why I wrote the ebook, Organized and Prepared. You know, how to tackle those 7 essential areas in our lives. So today I'm going to take you through just a snippet of the chapters so you get really a taste, and I wanted to provide you with something so that you can kind of walk away after this episode. Think about, well, I'm going to focus on this area. And that's something I really want you to do. Is I don't want you to feel like you got to tackle all the areas. Focus on one area at a time. Once you get one area done, move on to the next. So let's get started with the first area, which is the pantry. And with that, it's not as hard as you think, but I just want you to think about just having maybe one more. You buy pasta, maybe just having one more. So in the event that you can't get to the supermarket or order things online, you already have it in stock. So I still remember a few years ago when there was a hurricane that came through. And this one particular grocery store, which was actually located on the ground level of the one of the apartment buildings, is that it got completely flooded to the ceiling. So therefore they had to go in, of course they had to clean it out. And not only had to clean it out, but they had to, you know, basically let it dry, let it restock it again. So those are some of the things, even if you are very conveniently located to a supermarket, sometimes you might not be able to access it. So just one more, and I know some of you are living in small spaces. So sometimes it's just maybe buying one more of something so you can have enough food for a couple of days. For me, it's my almond milk. I love my almond milk with my cereal. So I always make sure that I just have one more extra container that has not been opened. So once I open a container, I get another one. And I really gained that mind, that thought, that that habit from my mother. Because whenever she opened something, it went on a list. So she would always have at least a couple in the cabinet. So that's the first thing. The second thing is those essential items are key. Your batteries, your candles, your flashlights, making sure that, and your chargers, battery and your always have an extra charger, people. Have 2 chargers. I have one I take with me at all times and not one I leave here. And the reason for that is another instance where I actually was, having a few friends over, and all of a sudden all the electric went out. But what I found out, it was the grid. So when grids go out, if you didn't already know this, it is an entire area. And so therefore I told the person, I said, okay, the person who was near where I knew I kept them, and that's also making sure you have them in spots where everybody knows. I said, open the drawer right in the front is a flashlight. They were all amazed. So at least we looked at the fuse box and we realized it wasn't a fuse box. We realized it was a bigger problem than we had all anticipated. So that's the second thing, is making sure you know where those candles, those batteries, sometimes you need those chargers. And even now, some of us need generators, and they've got all different shapes, sizes, and fit your budget. So think about those as well. The next thing is, of course, Number 3, which is, and these are the chapters. So my first chapter is pantry, second is essential items, essential supplies. The third one is your first and medical aid as well as your medical. Do you at least have a list of all your medication? Should anything, sometimes maybe you are to the point where you are not feeling well. You need somebody to go get those medications that you need on a daily basis. You can at least give them a list so everything is the way it should be written. Or, if there's certain things that you need, you use, but also making sure, because, cold and flu season now happens any time of year. It used to happen we used to always get ready when it got a little cooler. We went from our summer months to a cooler month, but now we need to have those supplies at all times. And also, when was the last time you checked for expiration dates? So looking at those items as well. Number 3, clothing. And one of the things I never thought I would be doing, but I actually have a grab bag. My grab bag has like some extra clothes in it. It has t-shirts, it's got sweaters, actually examples of towels and, things like that, towels and a little washcloth and those type of things. And that's maybe another conversation for another day. But, when there's like a power outage or when there's, they're telling you have to leave, you need to not be able to think about things like that. And I'm not, and I'll tell you what's in my grab bag, because at that point, it's not about necessarily me looking fashionable. It's me being warm and me being dry. So I've got t-shirts that maybe I wouldn't even wear, but you know what? In certain situations, I will wear them. I've got pants in there that I may not wear in certain situations, but I will wear them. I've got some other little items in there as well. But sometimes we need that grab and go bag. And the reason I say that is because, and you can always put this in the chat, but we all get those little signals where this is going on, that's going on. And one time I got a signal in regards to a hurricane. There's a possibility that hurricanes are going to touch down. So therefore, what I did was I was able to grab my checkbooks, my important documents, my laptop. I grabbed a blanket and I basically grabbed my clothes, like just an outfit, because it was nighttime when I actually got the warning. So I grabbed like a little dress I could throw on over top of that. And I put my little slip-on sneakers on. It took me maybe less than 5 minutes to do all of that. Can you do that? Can you grab those things that mean that much to you? Can you? I mean, because sometimes we don't think about that. So, and that's why I always have my charger in this one bag that I carry when I have my laptop. So I can put everything in there. I can put my laptop in there. I can put my important documents in there. I can put my checkbook in there. And I could probably even put a couple other things in there. But those are the kind of things, and not to get us panicky, but to get us prepared, because I think we don't like to think about that, because that's just like something I don't want to think about it because it just stresses me out. But what's going to stress you out more when you have got like 2 minutes to get out of a house because a hurricane is coming your way? So think about that as well. So that's number 4. Number 5 is, what about your important documents? Are your important documents somewhere in a drawer? Are your important documents in a pile underneath this, that? But Janet, I know where they are. I know I can grab them, but can you? Can you grab them? I mean, we're in a place now where we just don't know. I mean, it gets really extremely hot, but then we get these rains that just come through. I mean, and we're getting floods where we normally didn't get them. The other day, I saw where people were trapped on a subway train. Water was just gushing through. So when we are in our homes and we know we get warnings or we just want to go somewhere safe, how fast can you grab those documents? And should you just have to leave, where are they? They have plastic containers now that are waterproof. They have lots of products that are not only waterproof, but we also think about fireproof as well. You want both. And this came from a friend who is also my attorney. She said, Janet, she said, when the fire um, people come to our homes, their main goal is to put the fire out. So they don't care how much water they got to use. So we need to think about that as well. And also, do you want to use digital? Do you want to have it digitized as well? A flash drive, because you can just easily grab a flash drive. That's small. You know, some people have them where they have them actually so that they can pop them on a keychain. So that's something to think about. Number 6, the finances. It's really good for us to be able to know. One, it empowers us. Have a spreadsheet, your incomes, but also what your bills are. Because sometimes we feel we know everything, but do we? So having that master list will help you, but also help somebody else. And I'm saying all this because when sometimes life hits us unexpectedly, and maybe somebody has to come in for a day or two or a little bit longer to help us manage our lives. Our focus sometimes is just getting better, but also sometimes we are at a place mentally where we can't even remember everything. Because I still remember, when I had my major surgery, last thing I was trying to think of is like, what bills need to be paid? What's the account number? What's this? Because you right now are just, now, I'm just telling my own personal experience. All I wanted to do was, okay, give me something for the pain. And that's why I wanted to come to you this month, is because it's in those moments where you couldn't even think straight, but you've already got things in order. So think about that. And the last one is the self-care. Now, of course, I'm going to go through all of these again, but think about this. Have a routine, because when you're in the midst of panic, overwhelm, sometimes 5 minutes of just breathing, like, okay, I need to just take a moment of breath. Even beyond Emergency Preparedness Month and just life in general, sometimes you need to take a breath, breathing, but also sometimes you need to take a walk. A lot of times I will take walks just to kind of open up my mind mentally to possibilities, to solutions. So those are some things as well. But again, I wanted to come to you and just share this and allow you to get prepared. You don't have to do all of these at once. You can just say, you know what, Jan, I'm going to get in the habit of maybe buying something extra every time I go shopping. And also with the pantry, one thing I did not forget, everyone should have a manual can opener. Again, every one of us should have a manual can opener, because my goodness, if electric goes out, we're not going to be able to open things. And yes, I'm a person who loves fresh, vegetables and fresh things. But if I have to, I've got my canned goods. I've got my manual can opener. So think about that as well. So again, number 1 is the pantry. Just making sure you create an inventory list and making sure you have the basic things. Because some of you could probably have 2 or 3 ingredients and make thousands of things, but what are those basic things? The essential items, the batteries, the flashlights, the chargers, maybe even looking into a generator. A lot of people have the big ones because, the size of their home, but now they're making them so small that even if we just need to be able to charge up some of our devices. Number 2, first aid, medical. What are some of those things we need to get? You get a cut. Do you have what you need in your first aid kit? Do you have a first aid kit that's fully supplied? And also your medicine. Do you at least have some of the things for the colds and the flu so you don't have to go out in the rain and the snow and the sleet and the hail? I remember I wasn't feeling well. I wasn't feeling like my 100%. And even in the midst of just me not feeling good, I was feeling good. You know why I was feeling good? Because I had my crackers, I had some soup, and I had some ginger ale. Cracker soup and ginger ale. Of course, when I text my best friend, she's like, okay, what's going on? And obviously, you're not feeling good if that's your menu. But it made me feel good because I had those. And then also, I had my stack of toilet paper. I was like, there would have been times when I've only had one roll of toilet paper, but I had to go out. Those days are behind me. And I'm happy about that. And of course, clothing, you know, just have like an emergency pack together. One of the things that I had when I was like, I guess, toddler, my mother always bought me little rain boots. Somehow along the line, I don't have rain boots anymore. Do you know what? That's on my list. That is on my list. I need rain boots because, before when it rained, it would just rain a little bit. But now, I see the torrential. It took me a moment to get there. Torrential downpours. I need rain boots. I need boots. And, at first I was going to get the cute little ankle boots. But I said, you know what? I need the boots up to my knees. Number 5, just making sure your important documents are organized. Because sometimes you need to check on things. And you need to be able to pull out that document at moment's notice and make a call, check on things, etc. Organizing your finances, just making sure you have info. Also, emergency funds. I know that's something a lot of us are like, Janet, I just need to be able to pay my bills, you know, but that emergency fund is really good. And of course, they always had that stored in a secure location, but organize those finances. All the things you got going out, all the things you got coming in. Do you know all your account numbers? And a lot of times I hear this, either one spouse or the other knows where everything is, knows what everything is. I knew a neighbor. She was the one. She was the stay at home. She knew she paid all the bills and she knew everything. Her husband just went out, bought the check home. And my mother and I used to have a conversation. She's like, gosh, if anything happens to her, how is he going to survive? And actually, I had one client who would tell her husband, anything happens to me, just call Janet because she'll figure it out. Because she said, I know you'll be in a panic, but Janet can come in and figure it out. And then, of course, making sure we take those moments for ourselves. Because in the midst of everything that's going on in the world, at work, in our homes, in our lives, we need moments, 5 minutes, just do some breathing. Walk around the block, making sure self-care is a part of your habits, your routines. I always have my slow down Sundays where I do a couple things. I make sure I feed myself in regards to what I watch, what I read on Sundays, but also I relax my body. So that's when I usually do my own little pampering routine. But then there's times when I have do nothing, where I just kind of like, I'll sit and I'll maybe binge watch something. But that is key for us to be able to handle these emergencies, to handle the unexpected. And again, this is not something you have to do overnight. You just do one thing. Okay, this week I'm going to just sit down and write all the account numbers and all the information in order to get those finances organized. Every time I go shopping, I'm going to remember to buy one extra thing. I'm going to make sure I at least have all the batteries I need, the chargers and everything. I have in a little container. Just simple things that you can do. So I want to know, what's the one thing that you're going to do to get started? Please let me know that. But also, of course, if you want any more advice, please let me know. And of course, if you want more of information as well as some charts, as well as just some checklists that you can do, make sure you order a copy of the ebook. So I want you to, if you are listening to the audio version of this podcast, please continue listening. So until next time, you have a clutter-free day. So what was your takeaway from my solo conversation this week? I would love for you to share it in the comments below, but also, what area are you going to tackle? As I share, these are excerpts from my ebook, Prepared and Organized. 7 key areas to tackle during challenging times. And your challenging times could be the weather. Your challenging times could be some life events. Your challenging time could be, some economic events going on in your life. But these are things that you can use, these areas that you can focus on. So again, check out the ebook. So let me know what area after this conversation you really want to dig into and work on. And again, as I shared, do one thing at a time. Do one thing at a time. My one thing is I'm going to make sure that I get one of those small little generators. Next thing on my list is I'm going to get some knee-high boots. So let me know what yours is as well. So again, continue to have a great day. Continue to stay organized.